Roundtable Unfiltered. I'm joined by Kyle Makaric. Kyle, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Can't complain at all. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Appreciate you taking the time, man. And I know it's late at this hour, and but I appreciate it, man. So I just heard you just got back in Leamington there. So where were you?
So today was we had our skates in the academy. I coach at a local academy here, BioSteel Academy. We have a grade 9 team. We have a grade 11 team. Then we have a U18 team, which covers the grade 12s and anyone who's still finishing high school. And do that in the morning. And then I coach with the Leamington Flyers as well. So we had a practice today. We're kind of getting prepped and ready for playoffs that start Friday. So it was a heavy day of discussing kind of where we're at and the opponent and just kind of establishing what we want to have going through the week.
Man, I really appreciate like having the Leamington Flyers around. I've always really liked their organization. They've always been a really, really tough team to always play against. What makes you think that is?
I just think they kind of embody the culture of where they're from, right? They're a hardworking town. The people come out to support. They come out to support a team that kind of plays in the style that they want to emulate. They show up every night. They give you their best. You know, if you buy a ticket, you're gonna get treated to a good show. Everybody plays 200 feet, and it's just a really good blue collar town where everybody kind of supports each other, and they almost embrace the underdog mentality. Like we're in a league in the OJ where all the other teams are Toronto area, in and around that pocket, and it's a lot different up there. And when they come to watch a game here, we really kind of embody that culture and the mindset that Leamington has.
Well, and I know that I went to watch one of the games when they were playing Chatham. This was years ago,
Yeah,
and it might have been the playoffs, and it was just the energy from the crowd, and not just that, but the arena is really really nice as well. That was one of
yeah,
the bigger highlights I actually had. The arena is really nice, but the crowd is just so into it. And obviously, me being from Chatham, obviously we have a good crowd out there too.
yeah.
But like I think that was probably the biggest thing I noticed was just the energy and just the talent really surrounds the team and you feel it in the crowd and you just feel it with the players. I think I was playing the year when Tyler Wall was their goalie and he was just an absolute stud. And
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what he's doing now, but yeah, he's out there. I think he did get signed by New York there, but I don't know what ever happened. So.
Yeah, I coached Tyler in Major Midget. He was our goalie before he went to Leamington, so I know him really well. He doesn't play anymore. He's back in Leamington, but he had a good pro career, had a great NCAA career. So awesome local product for us.
Yeah, for sure. And then I mean, just talking about you being in Leamington, I know you've had history for a while now. So I mean, you're talking about all these teams that you've had to play, or not just play, but just coach and whatnot. Like, what has been the biggest difference over time? Like going over with University of Windsor, and then you're going over obviously with the Junior Spits, and then you go to the Maroons, and now you're with BioSteel, and then you're with Leamington. Like, talk about the difference when like what challenges have you had to make over those years?
I think the one thing that you get when you start coaching, especially after being around hockey your whole life, is you think you have an understanding of what it really is and what you want to give. And I can't believe how often it evolves. It evolves yearly. Sometimes it evolves throughout the year. But I remember when I first started coaching, I had this belief that I kind of understood what it was all about, and that like right away you know what you're doing, and the experience that comes with doing it for multiple years. It's crazy how much you learn when you get to meet other people and be involved in different events. If you just steal as much as you can from everybody and ask questions and be willing to listen to the answer, there's so many things that you don't know. Even in being involved in the game, like leadership, different advice you can take from everybody. Just a huge life lesson for anybody is if you can actually ask a good question, but be ready to listen to the answer and really take it, and find a way to blend it into your own life. That's the biggest difference. Like just understanding how a team works, understanding the dynamic of how the players kind of interact with each other and how that helps your team play. That's something I really didn't have an understanding of in the beginning. And you learn over time with lessons like the experiences you have in Chatham and junior. I learned a ton there. Then I moved away to coach in Ottawa, and in an organization in junior A up there, I kind of got a crash course in exactly what it takes to have like a championship organization, and just trying to bring that into everything now because they had a lot of success up there. And I learned so much in that 2 years.
Well, and yeah, so you obviously got to win the cup there. And what is the um obviously you're excited for the players, but for to be a coach to win something like that there, like is it like knowing like all the hard work, is it I don't know, like is it the emotions going into winning a championship? Is it just so much are you more just happy for the players than versus yourself?
It's kind of like that as you start to be on this side of the fence and you don't get to play anymore. The emotion and the going through the physical grind doesn't really have the same impact when you win, but it's just the commitment that you get to see a group of players who have limited like knowledge of each other. In most cases, there's only a few guys that return to a team. You see the relationships build. You see them get really close. You see them kind of like strive for a common goal. So to win at that level, knowing that they're going to have memories forever and they're going to be friends forever,
Yeah.
it's a different feeling. Like it's almost a more proud feeling of the young men that you get to kind of you get to empower them into being in the right spot so that they can win, and that is the best feeling of it. You almost don't. It's more of a relief as a coach when you win that you could get the job done when there's expectation, but the feeling is definitely of you're so excited for the players and what they can become. I think that's the biggest thing that I took from it.
So with Ottawa, like you know, last game before you win the cup, was there any like moment that you remember just chatting with the gents? Like, was there something that you talked with them before the game, knowing like this could be the game that you could win it? Was there something that stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, the 2 years there were completely different. The first year that we won, we swept. So we played a really good team in the finals. Our captain got hurt game one. Their captain got hurt in the last game. They're both Division One commit players, huge pieces. So we went into it kind of like, what's this going to be? We both are losing our best player, and we ended up just other guys stepped up. We go and we were up 3-0 going into that one, so we kind of had a little bit of a plan. It was on the road. We had everything getting ready for the celebration, and I remember talking to some of our players, and they were like, can we bring stuff on the bus to celebrate?" And I was like, "No, like I don't want to jinx it, like, and I'm not that. We have to keep it like we're not going to win mindset." And the guy goes, "Well, I brought it anyways because I put pressure on myself, knowing I have to win now." And it was like
Yeah.
this French guy. He plays at RIT now, unbelievable kid. But he looked me in the eye and said, I wouldn't be prepared to win tonight if I didn't think we were going to." So that was the one aspect. And then the second year, we won in game 7, which was crazy to think of the experience that those players get to go through. Like we
Hmm.
started that year, our arena, as like even as you know in Chatham, like that's where I met you. Our arena there at Memorial, it's just everything to do with the culture of the Maroons. When you think of the team, you think of that arena. It's so unique. And
Hmm.
our arena in Ottawa had to go through some repairs. The foundation was all damaged. So we were in like a community rink the entire year. We didn't
Oh
have a
my
dressing
gosh.
room. We had room number 5. We didn't have stalls. They just hung their stuff on the hooks. And that we kind of embraced that mentality the entire time. And to have like 1,200 people breaking the fire code 4 deep along the wall, and playing a really talented team, the mindset of that one was much different. We were kind of, there was some nerves that you could see, but some real excitement from our players, and especially the ones that were there the year before. They almost guided the ship, knowing that we were going to get it done and that they were going to lead the way. And the other team who hadn't really been there, you could tell the difference when Game 7 happened, and we end up blowing them out. It was just such a cool experience to kind of pass over at that point of the year. You're not doing much in terms of anything new or some giant rah speeches. You almost have fully turned over the leadership and the results over to the players. So to see them really take charge and guide it the rest of the way in, that's another proud moment as a coach.
Yeah, and have there been players over time that you obviously you don't just coach one player. I think it's the idea you coach a team, you work as a team, you win as a team, you lose as a team. But have there been players over time that you think of, whether it's just something they did funny that's just memorable, or they just do something that you look at a player and you just know whether they just go this far, but there's something special about that particular young man that you just can look at and say, you know what, that was the guy. But
Yeah, there's a lot of those, from their skill set
yeah.
to different things that they can do. There's some players that we've had, a couple guys we've had at the university, that their skill set was so unique in terms of just having an exceptionally dangerous shot, that when you get to that level, everyone's so close, and that one kind of unique attribute sets somebody so far apart that You kind of want to make sure that they're in the right spots and being able to use their ability. But the one thing that I've seen, like locally this year with our team in Leamington, we have a couple guys that are just exceptionally gifted, and watching the way that they kind of embrace the game and how they can take it over, it's special to see. And that's just kind of from your on ice ability standpoint. But I think that you really know when you have something special when you see the internal leadership. It's not something
Yeah.
every team has and you see it every day, but when the players really drive the ship and they take care of everything. So there doesn't need to be any discipline from the coaching staff. There doesn't need to be any we don't need to come in and scream, tear the paint off the walls. They handle it all themselves. I think I've got to meet some really special leaders in the last few years of hockey, and just to understand the difference between a young man who really understands what it takes to be a little selfless, to maybe put the team first, to know what to say in the right times. Sometimes it takes nothing at all. Just show by example. I think there's been a lot of special guys I've had recently that have taken that over, and it's hard to find. So I'm super privileged to be able to see it up close.
Yeah, and I think that's a beauty thing about being a coach. I mean, you go from being a player and then you go to a coach and you watch like the skills that you brought into the game, and then you go in and you watch like how much it's evolved. And I think you kind of touched upon that at the beginning, like how you watch all these guys and like you're just incredibly like how you know what you know, and then you're trying to pass down that knowledge, and then like you're trying to do it, and these guys are just going beyond what you ever could see. Like the skill of hockey has grown so much. And I think a lot of people would argue and say they're trying to get rid of fighting. They're focusing on speed and skill, which I would agree.
Mhm.
I would totally concur with that. But it's not even that. You're just watching so many players and it's not just a group of guys, but it's like individuals that are coming up with new skill and new looks that even the big game like the NHL is looking at, and what they're looking for is something unique, something different. And whether it's way someone's pulling at their shot, or the release that people are doing with their shots now, it's incredible. Like just the skill that we're seeing now.
Yeah, I think from that, like hockey's in a really good place.
Hmm.
The speed, skill, the way that it's taught, the understanding, the use of technology in terms of the equipment, and then obviously the coaching has become a super high level everywhere you go. Video and instant results and feedback has
Yeah.
just garnered a new generation of incredibly skilled and gifted hockey players. And now that we've done that, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. If you think about it, the kids now, my BioSteel team's 2010 born. So there might be some of them that 98% of their hockey life has been on the ice, structured with a coach or an adult or somebody else with them. Think about ourselves growing up. Like when I was growing up here in LaSalle, we would play road hockey all the time, unstructured, unsupervised, and try all these things. So like the understanding and just being
Hmm.
able to go and try things and do things and be just creative with the ability to fail and not have anyone correcting you. We're missing that a little bit now. We've went so far in the other direction where we give these guys everything and we watch every rep that they do, and we miss the unsupervised play. And now a lot of coaches are trying to bring it back. A lot of stuff we do is like we do small area games, we do different things where they need to think, and it all feels like you're playing road hockey with your buddies because we lost that. You don't see that anymore. Like when's the last time you had to stop your car when there's kids playing road hockey?
Now they're all inside playing Minecraft or something.
They're all inside playing
Yeah.
video games. Spot on, right? So the skill level of the game has gotten so high, but the just understanding and the thinking and the ability to problem solve is kind of regressed. So I think that's the next wave that people are really trying to usher in is getting the mindset and the thought of what's my next play, how much space do I have, and not just these incredibly skilled guys who look down at the puck and they can pick it up and Michigan in the net, but they can't look up and understand they have pressure, or where is the pressure coming from? What's my next play? What do I do with my stick to defend? Right. So I think that combining those two you're going to see in the next 10 years of hockey, not only do we have a million young stars now, it's
Yeah.
only going to get better. And yeah, does the fighting we all love a good fight. And I think that's super important having the game. I never want to fully lose that. But back 10, 15, 20 years ago, the third and fourth lines, maybe the bottom pair defensemen, they really didn't play. They were big, strong. Everybody can play now.
Hmm.
Everybody, every junior team, the guys top to bottom, every pro team, the major, junior. You watch the OHL, every kid can play.
Well, and that's a thing with now with hockey's like everybody's got a position now. You're not sticking the third liners thinking, well, your third line, that's where you're at. But third lines have that role now. Third lines are the guys that shut down the, in game 7, right? Like sometimes that's just what you need. And that's kind of where I think hockey's also evolved where now if you want to win championships or whether it's NHL, OHL, CJ, wherever you're at, junior hockey, I
Yep.
feel like now you have to have a complete team. It's not so much, and it kind of goes back to the movie about the Miracle Team. Is you
Yeah.
don't want the best players, you want the right players.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to get buy-in
Yeah.
from everybody. You have to keep everybody interested. At the end of the day, everybody's got an agent now. Everyone can jump on social media. There's a million teams everywhere.
Hmm.
There's leagues that are sanctioned, unsanctioned. You can go anywhere if you're not happy. Like these players are our clients more or less. And you got
Yeah.
to work with them as much as they work with you. And if you don't have 50-50, it can't just be us sitting in a perch, standing on the bench saying, this is how we do it, non-negotiable. You have to have a little bit of kind of interplay with the relationship you have with each player so that they know you care about them. They know you can get buy-in, but there has to be every team plays 4 lines now. Every team
Hmm.
plays all 60. They find a role for them. Gone are the days where you have 3 kids that play 30 minutes in a game and you have 2 defensemen. It just doesn't exist anymore. They all play.
And you brought up an interesting point, but the undisciplined like play and how the kids have to get up to that level again, how it's been lacking. And that kind of brings me up another thing with a lot of these young guys that are getting drafted in the NHL right now. I think the biggest thing, and I'm really hoping the NHL isn't trying to do, and I think they really did really bad with Bedard, and I get it. There was a lot of hype behind him, but I felt like everywhere he went, it was all Bedard, Bedard, Bedard. I'm impressed, and I'm not just spotlighting him, but like I'm really impressed with a lot of these guys that have come in and not let that get to their head. I know there's a couple guys that maybe, obviously, I think it was before Bedard's time there. The guy that was playing for Kingston there. Um,
Shane Wright.
there's yeah, Shane Wright. Like that's a perfect example of a guy I think that, in my opinion, kind of let it get to his head a little bit. Obviously, it's a big deal when you're drafted number 1, but the way he handled it, and now you see where he's at. It's I don't like how NHL's kind of I feel like they are pushing these guys a little bit, but I'm really impressed with these guys who have been drafted, like Celebrini. A lot of these guys have been drafted number 1, and how they're
Yeah.
kind of not letting it get to their head and just being really humble about that. I think that's really important about hockey as well, because that can really damage guys as well. Is you get in thinking that you're all, you're King Midas because you're number 1, and that's just not the case. And I feel like that's something that needs to be taught with kids now, is that, hey, guys, you're just playing whatever is, triple A, whatever you're doing. And
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of the hockey too. It's not just, you can be good all you want, but it's also about being respect for yourself, but, respect for others, right? That's number 1.
Yeah. You see that a lot. It's getting better, but just kind of the stigma that surrounds hockey in Canada. These guys are given so much at such a young age, and
Hmm.
they're put on a pedestal. It's so hard early in your development to kind of understand and put the difference of wow, there's all these kids that want our autograph, and we're 17 years old playing junior hockey. We're the most important person in the world, and like you really have to tail it back to you're skilled and you're very good playing a game, and there's so much more to
Hmm.
your well-rounded life outside. And I just think a lot of these athletes, the ones that you mentioned, they're just raised so well, right? They're raised well from a young age. They get into Hockey Canada programs when they're young, and Hockey Canada takes care of them. And they really show that this is how you have to do it. You can't be better than anybody. You're not puffing your chest out. We go and show what we can do on the ice, and the mantra is you're a team. You respect everybody. It's crazy the amount of stuff that they look at when they go into picking their teams. They look at everything, how you treat people when you're
Hmm.
getting lunch, if you say thank you to the bus driver. They care about everything like that. They won't just put anybody on the team, right? So I think that these kids from a young age, they get put into leadership roles in hockey because they're the most talented players, and they start to understand that you kind of have to look outside of just yourself and worry about
Hmm.
the collective. And that's when they get to this level, they just fit right in, and they have great guys to look up to, like Bedard in Chicago. There, they went and got players for him to look up to, like you got Foligno there. There's
Yeah.
leaders there, right? Guys who have been around. Taylor Hall, same with Celebrini's got Tyler Toffoli they brought in. There's always people to look up to so they can understand, see the ropes. But they do a great job of managing expectations, and I think it's hard for them now. These kids are on their phones so much. If they go and seek it and they want to get an opinion, they'll see something anywhere. But I think they do such a good job of staying away and just kind of
Yeah.
understanding the mental part of hockey. And our athletes nowadays are starting to get really good with this.
With Hockey Canada going on right now, obviously there's been so much stuff that have been coming out. Obviously, you get the 4 or 5 of those guys that were playing with like the hockey, like or the Team Canada.
Yeah.
And they got in a little bit of trouble there. And there's a lot of things that have come out in Hockey Canada in the last little bit about
Yeah.
just just with junior hockey, with a lot of things going on with like guys obviously, there's nothing wrong with, having, you can have fun with the junior guys, but the issue that there's been having issues with like teams and things going on that are unacceptable. As a coach, has there been things that you put in place that, knowing to put your team in place, knowing that stuff's not going to be tolerated? Is there a talk that you have at the beginning of the year? Is there things that you put into place to prevent things like that
Yeah,
happening?
I think you have to. You have to make sure that it's understood. You have to set some parameters,
Hmm.
knowing and understanding that they're teenagers and they're gonna find themselves in some spots that maybe they should or shouldn't be in. But it's really letting them know everything matters. Everything comes back to you. Um, there's going to be any situation you're put on a pedestal. You're in the spotlight. You got to handle yourself with extreme care. And I think from a young age, these guys are really taught what's right and wrong, what spots to be in. There's so many guys now that they don't drink. Junior players don't drink. They don't find themselves out at the bar at 2 and 3 a.m. They're doing the right things. We do have curfew and stuff like that. There's rules. If you're going to break curfew at your billet house, you got to let them know. You can't be out past a certain time. It's policed pretty well. And the internal, like I said, the internal leadership, when you have good captains and things, that they'll go out with the guys, but they know when to shut it off, and they got to make sure everyone's taken care of. You never
Hmm.
worry. But if you don't have that, and you see a couple guys that kind of don't fit in that culture, you got to make sure that you get them away from your group, because there could be so many problems. And for years, hockey players and all the issues that obviously you've seen with the Hockey Canada stuff, they've kind of gotten away. They've gotten a pass on things that they never should have. But the way that they didn't have cell phones all the time 20, 30 years ago, right? They didn't have the type of communication. Now, with anywhere you are, they can find what you're doing. They can see where you're doing. I know in the Hockey Canada events I've done, there's no outside people allowed in the hotels. You can't be leaving the hotel without strict permission. You're there to play hockey, and you're given everything. They give you everything that you need to succeed. So you almost have to hold up your end of the bargain as well.
Yeah, and I think too, like, it's crazy how much like there's so many rules in hockey now because they need to prevent these things from happening. Like
Right.
you brought up Team Canada. Obviously, you got to do the under 19 East team.
Yeah,
What was that like?
that's awesome. It's a super cool event. I didn't know too much about it before I started coaching junior A, but essentially they have their own like World Junior version that they run in December. They get all the leagues together. So I was with Canada East. I coached in Ottawa. That's the OJ. That would be the CCHL, Quebec, Maritimes. They all come together to make one team. And then the other league in Canada would be West. That's your Saskatchewan League, Alberta League, Manitoba League. They all come together and they make a team, and they're usually really strong. And on paper, the Eastern team is usually not as strong. We had a great group of kids. The coaches that I was with are unbelievable. We had Billy McGuigan was the head coach. He was the coach in Summerside. He was unbelievable. Derek Smith in Trenton, who I still keep in touch with to this day. Mark Juris, who's in Burlington. Guys I see in our league in the OJ here. You learn so much from them, and they were just the right leaders for that. But you pick a team based on players in those leagues that are within the right age category. So you could have six, if I remember, six kids who were of 19 years old, and then the rest of the team had to be under that. So you can't, when you think of junior hockey, your best players are usually your 20-year-olds, but then you can only pick six of the best 19 and then under. So a lot of guys who are younger with promise playing up in the
Hmm.
in the junior A ranks. But it was so cool because, like, you see guys now, the Sweden team we played, they take their under 18 team to that event. So under 18, you see the draft, and all these players that were at the World Juniors this year, I'd say 75% of them were at that event last year, and they were all together. The American team completely made up of players from the USHL. You see them, they're all playing Division One. They're doing very well. The guy who's actually leading all of the NCAA in scoring right now, as of last time I checked, it would have been this weekend, is Aiden Fink. He's at Penn State. He was on Canada West. So there's a huge amount of people on this. There's tons of NHL scouts there. It was a really, really good, well put together event. And we were fortunate enough to beat the West in the semifinal, but we just came up short against the Americans for gold.
And talk about that opportunity. Like, how did that come out for you?
Essentially, you apply. You have to be a junior A coach in one of those leagues. The guy who owned our team in Ottawa, he had done it in the past. He was an assistant coach, and then he was a head coach, and he said that's something I should do. So he put in a reference for me. I applied, did the interview process, and was fortunate enough to be able to work with those guys there. And that's basically all it is. You apply, you go through the process, and they try to find the best fit for how you can help the staff.
And another thing that obviously you get to do right now is you're scouting for the Brampton Steelheads. If you are still doing that, I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just going off based off what I know.
No, you're right.
Yeah, and talk about a bit about that. So people, obviously everyone knows what scouts are, but take me through, take the viewers through what that's like, and how does that work? What are you does the team take a list of things what they're looking for, and you're looking for that in certain players? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so I mean that's super interesting for me. I got this opportunity from a guy who I'm super close with in Ottawa. He works with them as well. He's the director of player personnel, and he kind of mentioned, like, would you be interested in scouting? We could use another set of eyes in Windsor Essex County area. And I said I've never really looked at the game from that perspective. I've only ever kind of really played and then coached, but just I want to open my horizons as much as you possibly can. So when I got into it at first, just watching, and I found myself kind of watching how teams played and kind of the way that they set up structure and how players filled within that. And I was kind of going about it all wrong. It's entirely different way to look at it. You're looking at these 15, just under 16-year-old players, and how are they going to project? Where is their skill set now? Where is it going to be in a year or two, right? Where is it going to be when they're playing for an OHL championship and they're 19? Like, what kind of transferable things do they have? And you're just breaking it down. There's so much that goes on in the game. There's 18 skaters, 2 goalies every time you watch. So you have to narrow it down to who do you like, what kind of stuff stands out. And it takes multiple viewings of certain teams and players before you kind of get an understanding of their game. Obviously, when you coach a team, you see them every single day. You know what your players are like. You know the ins and outs about their game, the deficiencies, the things they do well. When you scout, you got to pick those up quicker and see, is this a deal breaker? Is this something they can fix? Can it be coached out of them? And I find myself a lot watching how they interact on the bench, how they interact with their teammates. Once there's a kid I really like, when you start watching, you just kind of ISO them and you watch them the entire time. You see how they are on the bench. Coach is giving them feedback. Are they turning around, looking at them? Are they talking back? What's the conversation look like? Are they talking to their teammates? Just all those things that you know will transfer to the next level. And we're fortunate enough here in Windsor, Essex. We have some really high-level prospects for this upcoming draft. A couple of them are at our school, actually. We have Jaco Wyzik, Jordan Main, 2 Sun County players that are at the academy. They're there on the ice and in the classroom during the day. We have a couple Windsor guys with Emmett and Paxton Mather. So there's a lot of really good players who are going to be taken in the draft, and we're spoiled here locally to see them all the time.
And that being said, what is probably the biggest challenge as being a scout?
I would say the biggest challenge would be just narrowing it down. There's so many teams that you can watch. There's teams in the States, there's teams locally. So now that the OHL has kind of opened up their league to take these American players and they can play Division One afterwards, it's a whole new ball game. Like, do we just look at the Ontario guys? Do you look at guys that are American in the higher level? Will they come over? So I guess it's just narrowing down a huge pool into something that's bite-sized that you can really focus on and see who stands out within that chunk. It's not taking everybody. I can't watch everybody, neither can everybody on our staff, but we do a good job of breaking it up, kind of working together and finding the players no matter where they are.
Yeah, yeah. And that being said, I actually wanted to move on. I want to get the elephant out of the room. Obviously, as people know, people that know us, we're both Leafs Nation
Yeah.
members here. Um, as a spectator and as someone who has the understanding of hockey, looking at the Leafs this year, how do you feel that the team's shaped out at this moment, and where do you think they need to go forward?
Um, yeah, I watch the Leafs. I'm pretty critical when I watch the Leafs too. It's hard for
As
me
we
to
all
kind of detach. I can't just watch as a fan. I have multiple group chats with all my buddies, and we talk about the Leafs a lot. I would say this year they're much different than in years past. I found that in the Sheldon Keefe years, we really were all in on the star guys have to do everything to get us where we need to go. I truly do see the difference in the team aspect. You see an example a couple nights ago. They were down, they pulled the goalie and scored. I think it was in the Boston game. But in the Sheldon Keefe era, they would play the big boys the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game continuously. They would do a timeout. They put the same guys out there. I don't think Matthews, Marner, Nylander came off the ice. Now they get their shift. They have a line change. Domi's playing out there. Holmberg's out there. They're having a good game. So Berube uses them. More people from the outside looking in, more people probably feel like important on the team more than ever before. So I think that is something that's awesome. It's obvious. They play more direct. They play more straightforward. There's a lot less east and west go back. They do really push the pace and play north. I think that at the deadline, hopefully we can get maybe a defenseman of some sort to help the depth. Um, like a Luke Shen type of guy would be perfect. I know he's not going to come cheap, but a guy like that who's got experience who can help, and then maybe like a depth forward. Like obviously Yarn Croc's back tonight, but a guy like we got in Ryan O'Reilly or Scott Lawton, a guy like that, I think would really help.
Well, and the thing is, how I kind of see it with Berube, I feel like he's the kind of coach that um sees something and he's one who wants to use the whole team. I don't think he's one who just wants to say, well, doesn't work, or he doesn't like to force things, in my opinion. He's I think he's an extremely great coach, and I again Keith is going to San Jose or New Jersey.
Yeah,
Excuse me. Yeah, he's going to New Jersey. That's great. And I think he'll do. He's done great things over there. So good for him. I
yeah,
just think Berube's been the right coach for the team and putting the team where they need to be. I think the biggest thing I saw was accountability. Was number one. Was accountability, the physicality, and just you've seen someone even like Marner, and I'm critical of Marner because he's a great, fantastic player, but he's just
yeah,
one of those guys. I saw him last year, and I honestly threw the jersey at the TV the one night. I almost did. Sorry, I picked it up. I was like whipped it over on the floor. I'm like, hey, seriously. Like there was just times where he's looking up at the ref. He's complaining on the bench, and finally Nylander just told him, hey, stop crying, man. Like this,
yeah,
knock it off. And you see this year, and he's throwing hits. You see the change under Berube, and there's not just that temporary change where it's new this time. This guy's like, yeah, they're everything's good. I think that there's definitely that change that can put them deep in the playoffs. I do think that they probably are missing a third line center,
yeah.
just to strengthen that third line because I don't think Domi is a third line center. I think
He
he needs
might
to be
he
playing.
might be the expendable one. You're right.
Yeah, and or if they're not gonna expend him, they're definitely if he's not expendable and they're gonna keep him, they at least need to keep him on the wing because that's where he needs to be.
Right,
They need
right.
a real third line center. So whether it's Scott Lockton or I know that they were even considering Rantanen, but I don't know how
Yeah.
that's gonna happen. That's kind of insane deal.
I don't know how
Um,
far that's gonna get. He'll probably stay where he's at till the end of the year, but that would be spectacular.
Yeah, I definitely the Leafs over the years, I think that this is kind of the year that they either have to get through the first second round or it's cleaning house because you bring in a new coach after so many times. In your perspective, if if they don't get through the first round, or even if they do, and they get through the second round, but they still don't, if they're not doing the things that they need to do in the postseason, what do you think that the organization will do? Do you think Marner's gone? Do you think that they try to reshape the team a little bit?
So, I mean, it's tough from this perspective. Like, let's go like this. What year were you born?
94.
94. Okay, so you'd have been really small. Your Leaf fandom probably hasn't grown yet. So me being 89, I was young when the Leafs were really good, and we go to the conference finals and we win rounds every year. And the playoffs were just structured different, right?
Right.
I know they haven't been as far as we'd like, and they've only won one round since we've had this core. But man, it's like the teams that they come up against every year to play Boston every year, they're no slouch. To have to play Tampa Bay, and then you get your reward for beating Tampa Bay when you finally win is Florida, and they're
Yeah.
just starting their peak of their team. It's crazy the way it is. They play all year long. They're having a great year, and they're gonna, even if they end up first in the Atlantic, you get a really good team. The Rangers are coming on. You have to play the
Yeah.
Rangers in the playoffs, possibly with Shesterkin and net, and they're a wild card. It's just to think of how difficult it actually is to win nowadays. And then you get such an appreciation for the teams that can do it. For Florida getting to the final and then going back the year after and winning, just that's crazy to see things like that. Edmonton to be right there knocking on the door, and they got to go the whole year. You see they're struggling a little bit here and there because like, what moves the needle for them in the regular season? These guys are making tons of money. They're pros. They're looking forward to June. And I think the
Yeah.
Leafs are in that same mix. But if they can't win around, you have Marner, who's a free agent. You have Tavares, who's a free agent. Matty Nyes is restricted. Like these guys all need to get contracts. And I
And
think
that's
that
just it.
it might be time if they don't win. Like it's a results based business. If they can't at least really move the needle down the fact that they can get deep into the playoffs, win a couple rounds. I just don't see a situation where Trey Living will look back and say we just run it back again.
And that's just it. I don't know what kind of moves, if they're going to make any in the off, or not in the off season, but like the trade deadline, because it's coming up pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's on Friday.
And it's on Friday, so there's a lot of things coming on. I just saw there was a rumor about Trey Lehman wanting to possibly get a third team in, so definitely they're looking at probably someone like Braden Shen. Because I know with the contract that he has, they can't, even if they retain, I don't think the money
Yeah.
is there. So they would have to either get a third team in to kind of make it make sense. But
Yeah.
also, if you look at St. Louis right now, they're just outside the playoff position. So why
Yeah.
would they give up their captain in a spot like this right now when they haven't got this close since 2019? So
Yeah, they've
it's
come along. They had a bad start. It's so similar to that 2019 year. They had a bad
yeah,
start to the year, and then they kind of floundered a little bit.
kind of
They've,
deja vu. Yeah.
yeah, they've come along, and then Binnington does the Four Nations thing, and he
Yeah.
looks like a superstar. He was unbelievable in the overtime. Where were you watching that?
What?
Were you watching the
Oh,
Four Nation final game?
no, I think I was watching that at home. I'm
Were you
pretty
watching at
sure.
home? So we play every Thursday and in Leamington, and then afterwards we go to Jose's, and there was not a parking spot. So as soon as the game was done, we rushed there. We started at 7:10, so we missed the first period. That place was packed, and that was one of my better game viewing experiences that wasn't being at a game because the place was electric. Everyone was screaming at as loud as you possibly could, every
Yeah.
save. And when Bennington was making those overtime saves, the whole place was just like screaming. You're pounding your glass on the table. It was incredible. But yeah, to go back to that point, he has some confidence. He has a huge moment in a game like that where they win. And now you got a goalie who believes in himself again, and the team that can believe in him,
Yeah.
who's starting to come along. How do you make moves at the deadline and sell if you're in the mix?
And that's just it. So I don't think Brain Shen's really making much sense, but they're definitely, if it's true, which I'm sure it is, if he's trying to get a third team involved, there's definitely something going on, and I know he's getting ready to get somebody who's they obviously can't quote unquote afford. Um, I think it's definitely, we're gonna see what happens with that. I, I, I mean Scott Loughnane. I know he's a guy that they've been talking about a bit. Obviously, I'm sure they probably want another defenseman as probably as a just an extra guy for insurance.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that there's people talking about wanting to get rid of Timmins. In my opinion, he's not my favorite play in the world,
Yeah.
but I
I don't
definitely
mind him, but that's the one, right?
that's the
You
guy
need a
that
little
has to
more
go.
depth. There's space to replace him, I think. Um, he's a fine player, don't get me wrong, but for what they need in the playoffs, you got to have those six guys all kind of built into a role. And I think you just need that rugged defenseman who can play important minutes, maybe help our penalty kill a little bit. And like McCabe's great. Um, Tanev's unbelievable. We miss him a lot
Dearly.
being out, right? So I just that makes a difference too. Like to get a guy like Tanev, he is so undercover good. Like I find myself on Tuesdays at the school, we do video. We do a video class. And I find myself just showing Tanev clips to the D because his stick is good. He understands space so well. He defends
Hmm.
well away from the puck. Like everyone watches Makar and Heiskanen, Quinn Hughes, but the true defensemen, like these guys who get paid and they do it every night, are Tanev. They have great stick. McCabe,
Hmm.
they defend 200 feet. So hopefully we can get somebody else in that mold.
Well, and you threw out the other guy there. Yeah, he has had a great year. I don't know if it was last year or when we first had him, but he seemed a little shaky, and I don't know if it was just he needed to find his footing on the team.
He needed to find his partner.
But McCabe, yeah, and that's
Yeah,
it too. And McCabe, man, he's just man, and now you kind of see what he with the partner that he can have. Um,
yeah.
definitely, he's just become
They
a
started
different
Tanev
player.
with Riley, and it didn't
It didn't make
really work.
sense.
And McCabe and Tanev has just been so good.
Yeah, I definitely want to see what they're gonna do. I mean, we'll see what happens at the trade deadline, but I did want to touch upon the Team Canada though, real quick. I know you brought that up about it being electric and whatnot. That was probably some of the best hockey I've seen in a while. It was good to see it come back. I mean, the World Juniors are fun to watch too. It's always nice to see the kids coming up and doing their thing. But it
Yep.
is cool to see all the stars come together. And I don't know how people felt about having Broad Marchand on Team Canada, but I liked it for the moment that we had it.
Yeah.
I never mind the guy. He's a good player and he's a good guy to have when he's on your team.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
and
exactly it.
that's
That's when it
exactly
comes
what it is. Or
together.
Sam Bennett,
Yeah.
guys like that like to stir
Yep.
up trouble. But again, you look at a guy like Sam Bennett, game seven, when you need someone to score, he's there. I don't know if it was or not game seven, sorry, the final game. I
Yeah.
think it might have been he was the one that tied it up and made it all happen. And
Yeah.
those are the guys that you look at, and the commentators are right. He's the guy that not everyone likes, but he's the guy that you want on your team because not only does he hit, he doesn't just throw the hits, but he's the guy that he's a depth guy that can score, and he's proven it when you need someone to do it. He's the one that does it, and I think
100%.
and that kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier about how hockey's changed. About you can't just get away with just skill and speed, but you have to get it. It's not just the players that have to learn the hockey; it's the organizations and coaching now has changed so much. Now it's you have to have the teams made up right. So you can't just have you can have a great team with skill, but you have to have a team that can get you far deep in the playoffs.
And that's people complained, right, when the list came out about Team Canada, right? You looked at the roster and they said, "Where's Mark Scheifele, right? Where's player X?" And why do we take these guys? Like, where's Zach Hyman? Scored 50 goals last year, and they had an understanding of what they wanted to build. When you have a line that's got Hagel, you got Sorelli, points on the team, Seth Jarvis. These are unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
200 foot. There's no room to play. They can still chip it on offense. They're great. They're great players, but we think that we have the best players in the world, so we just can roll out an all-star team. And the USA's they've caught up. They're coming. Like their development model, especially at youth hockey, is really really good. It's really good. They play cross ice longer than we do. Um, the way that they set up development and what they focus on, it's really come a long way. Especially like they develop goalies now. We've had a trouble developing goalies in Canada for years, and I can see why. Like there's practices, you'll be at the rink, you'll walk down, and I like to walk around the rinks and see what everybody's doing and just kind of see if I can pick anything up. And and see where people are at. And a lot of times the goalies, they're just a target. You put your kid in net, you give him all the equipment, and he stands there. And the practice is for the skaters. There's no individual attention until you get older, and that's why we don't have anyone that stands apart,
Hmm.
right? Like the one big thing with our school that we cared about so much is we have a goalie coach who's with us in Leamington too. Matt Anthony is on the ice with our goalies every single day. He could just be a resource where he comes and stands there. He talks to our goalies in between drills. But I think it's important that we give him time so he gets at least 30 minutes undivided with one or both of them at the same time every day. We have many years to catch up of goalie training. It can't just be specialized. It can't just be in the summer. They need to get that at this time as well.
I feel bad for the guys, for the young lads there that, and I'm going to say goalies because there's only two or three on a team. And it's those guys. I mean, when you get to that age where you have to kind of figure out what are you going to do school wise? Are you going to go to university? You going to go to college? Are you going to stay back and play another year? I feel bad for a lot of these junior guys who have to kind of make that quick decision because I mean, okay, you're 17. Most guys at 17 are probably in grade 12. And you
Yep.
get that point where you have to decide, hey, do I really want to do hockey my whole life? Do I feel like I'm good enough? And then I get kind of gets in their head a little bit. And they, some are not sure what they want to do, where they just say, screw it, fuck it, I'm gonna just play another year because I got nothing going on. And it's definitely one of those. I feel like it's one of those things where sports where you have to either I feel like either you're going to know how good you're going to be or you have to have someone kind of guide you through and say, hey, no, listen, I think you need to go play another year. I think you have it. And that's where some of these
Yeah.
guys, I think, you need that direction.
I think that you hammered on a good point. Like it can't just be these kids all put the OHL draft as like the first real
Yeah.
milestone. And if you do or you don't get picked, it's the end of the line for you in some capacity. I always look at it as what's your output in hockey? You put them in hockey in the beginning when they're kids, so they have a social aspect. There's friends, there's people on
Yep.
the team. You got the hard work aspect. You got the coach is trying to help your son or daughter with their sport goals, and you have to listen and learn. And same thing as your boss at work. You want to keep them in shape, right? It's a sport. They're athletic. You put them in hockey for that reason. Then they become good, and all the goalposts shift. And it's like, well, now what do we want? Let's move him somewhere. Let's move him to Toronto when he's 13 so he can go play at some higher level team. And it just starts to become unrealistic. I
Hmm.
think that every kid should look to get a junior experience. If you play hockey long enough and you start to become a good player and you're not just in it for rec league, if you can play junior, that's where you kind of make your friends for life. Junior C, junior B, junior A, doesn't matter, right? That's where you meet your friends for life. And then if you play long enough into junior and you really enjoy it and you invest your time, energy into training and becoming a really good player, you can play at school. There's schools everywhere. There's club level teams. There's ACHA level Division 1, 3.
Hmm.
There's NCAA 1, 3. There's U Sport. There's places everywhere. And then if you get to use the sport that you grew up playing and love and to leverage towards something to do while you're in school, school is what it is. I know I don't love it. Like I don't think everybody loves it, but at the end of the day, it's important. And if I wasn't playing hockey, I wouldn't have been going to school. I wouldn't have went and sought that. But I think that these kids now, they just need to kind of shift their expectations and they
Hmm.
play for the reason why they started and why they love it and not for an end result that I've played for this long. I've played on this team. I need to get something out of this.
Well, and the perfect example of this is, you talked about them not, if they're so focused on going to OHL, and a perfect example is Bobby McMahon. He was in
Yeah.
Newfoundland, and no, I don't think he was drafted, and he was in Newfoundland, and he went right from there. He worked his ass off, and he got to the Leafs, and I would say honestly, he's probably in the top seven, if top seven, top eight. Uh, I mean, he's a guy. I think he's the man. I think he's a guy that can easily be a 20 goal scorer. It's just a matter of if give him a couple years. Obviously, there's a lot of guys that can score 20 goals on that team,
Right.
but he's definitely been that guy. He is
So
that
he's a
it
great
guy.
example. He's a great
Yeah.
example. So as you say, Bobby McMahon, I remember I thought I kind of had his story, but I didn't want to say it without knowing it. So he's a great junior A example. So he's a Western Canadian boy.
Yeah.
Played major midget out there. So the U18 version, he would have been 17 years old. After their draft is in Bantam, so 2 years post draft. He's not playing in the Western League. He plays Junior A for 3 seasons for Bonnyville, which is a good program, really good program actually out west. Then he goes Division One, right? So late bloomer, takes the longer route, plays 4 years of Division One, ends up being a captain, right? Like hockey's not done when you're done when you don't get picked and you're not in the Western League. Kept working at it. Now the guy's a consistent goal scorer in the NHL. He's going to get 20 goals this year in the NHL. Just took the long road, took the back path, but you stick to it. There's opportunity for you. And even like you got Washington is the best team in the league. Washington's got a goalie, Logan
Hmm.
Thompson, who played U Sports, Canadian
Yeah.
University, right? Played U Sports, was exceptional, moved on. He's one of the best goalies in the league this year. His statistics are unbelievable.
Well, and there's even a lot of guys that maybe they won't go to the NHL. They're not going to maybe go up higher up, but there's still a lot of potential for these guys to either play in a league that maybe that's not something that they want to be at, but they play in a league and maybe they get good enough, and then you get these scouts to look and say, hey, maybe like you worked your ass off. Let's get you in maybe like an AHL team. Like I know there's a guy from London, Michael Simpson. So my wife and I were going to Orlando in next week, and my brother-in-law and my father-in-law we're gonna go watch the Solar Bears, and
Yeah,
he actually plays for he's one of their goalies, and he's actually playing
nice.
quite well. So it's actually kind of interesting, a guy from London, Ontario, playing for the Solar Bears, and it's
Yep.
kind of cool. And I knew who the team was, but I didn't really know much. I didn't know they're from Orlando and everything. So
Yeah.
it's still some really good hockey, and I think it's really good to see guys that you know how you can't say. I mean, how many people could say I'm from London, Ontario, that you're playing for some team in Orlando? That's still pretty sweet. I still think it's
Oh yeah.
great hockey, and you still have potential to maybe have some scouts look at you. So I think he's
Yep.
still maybe 2021, so he has potential.
Yeah, he's a good goalie, man. He played for Peterborough when they went on that
Yeah,
run there,
yeah.
and then obviously came back with the London Knights. But yeah, super talented goalie.
Yeah, but anyway, man, we're actually coming up on time here. I was just trying. I wanted to get that last piece in
Yeah.
before we run out of time here. So, Kyle, it's a pleasure having you on here. It's always good to talk hockey with you, and I just appreciate you taking the time to come on here and just chat a little bit about yourself and just your experiences. And um,
No, I mean this was great. You got to talk hockey. I love what you're doing. You've been obviously trying to get after the social media stuff for years, and just been following you. And maybe next time we can chat Star Wars and see where we're at with all that.
absolutely, yes, we will have to tackle that for next time. So, thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.